I want to talk about something that doesn't get said out loud very often, especially in entrepreneurial and leadership spaces. What happens when your business grows faster than you do? When things on the outside look like they're expanding, succeeding, moving forward, but internally you feel like you're trying to catch up. This episode isn't about strategy. It's not about scaling tips or how to grow faster. It's about the emotional and spiritual side of growth, the part no one really prepares you for. Because growth doesn't just stretch your business, it stretches you. Hey friend, I'm Jessica, and this is With My Whole Heart. I'm a real-life woman juggling a lot of real-life things, raising girls, running a hair salon, chasing big dreams, and doing my best to stay grounded through it all. If you've ever found yourself in the thick of it, somewhere between who you've been and who you're becoming, this space is for you. Here, we talk about the middle, the messy, meaningful, beautiful middle. The big leaps, the small wins, the hard lessons, and the heart-led pivots. From business and beauty to faith, motherhood, and everything in between, nothing's off limits. So grab your coffee or your tea, get cozy, and let's dive in. Because this journey, we're walking it together with our whole hearts. I've had moments here and there over the last 8 years of owning the salon where I felt that gap. That feeling that the business was a step ahead of me, but the first time I really felt it in my body was in 2020. I had just become the sole owner of Hustle and Heart Salon, and then the world shut down. Overnight, everything felt uncertain. We didn't know how long we'd be closed, what the rules were going to be, or if small businesses like mine were even going to survive. And I remember feeling completely disconnected from myself. I wasn't thinking long term. I wasn't dreaming or planning. I was just trying to get through each day. I felt like a fraud. Like, who do I think I am owning this business? I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I supposed to lead anyone through this when I don't even know what's coming next? That was the first time the weight of responsibility really hit. Looking back, there were earlier moments too, like when I hired my first assistant before I was actually ready. We didn't have the structure, we didn't really know what we were doing, and we failed miserably. I've shared that story before, so I won't go deep into it here, but it was another example of growth happening before confidence and leadership had caught up. From the outside, growth looks exciting, but behind the scenes, when growth outpaces you, it can feel terrifying. It looks like dropping the ball. It looks like people upset because something got missed. It looks like trying to hold everything together while quietly wondering if you're failing. One of the biggest pressures I personally wasn't prepared for was managing people, especially when we transitioned from an independent salon to a commissioned model. Suddenly, I wasn't just responsible for my own work. I felt responsible for everyone's success, their income, their stability, and on top of that, you're holding their emotions and their personal lives too. You're not just a boss, you're a leader, you're a friend, you're the one putting out all the fires. And you're doing all of that while also navigating your own personal life. And that can be really, really heavy. For me, identity lag has felt like holding on to a roller coaster for dear life. You're strapped in, it's moving fast, and you're just holding on, and you're learning as you go. And intellectually, I know that's a lot of business. You don't have to have everything figured out before you start. You learn by doing. But emotionally, it's still very, very scary. That old version of me creeps in, the one that says, Who do you think you are? Am I actually enough for this? And sometimes that voice isn't just internal. If you put yourself out there, especially on social media, you feel it from the outside world too. People questioning you, judging, thinking, who does she think she is posting that? You learn to grow thick skin as a leader, but sometimes that skin gets thin. And when it does, insecurity creeps in. You question your worth, you question your leadership, you question whether you're actually good enough for what you've built. There have been many times where me and other salon owner friends have joked, let's just get on a plane, go to an island, braid hair on the beach, and call it a day. That's not quitting. That's exhaustion talking. Imposter syndrome shows up in every growth season. If anyone tells you they've never questioned whether they're cut out for where their business is going, they're lying. Fear and self-doubt showed up for me most clearly when I hired before I had strong boundaries and systems in place. I wanted to people please. I wanted everyone to be happy, and that led to inconsistency where something was okay for one person but not for another. That's one of the hardest leadership lessons I've learned. Grace without structure hurts everyone. And when you're building the plane while flying it, those lessons can be painful. Fast growth took a real emotional toll on me. It led to exhaustion, to constantly trying to prove that I was worthy of the role I was in. In the first 5 years, I didn't really notice it. Things were working, we were growing. It felt successful. But burnout has a way of revealing what you didn't see before. That's when I realized how disconnected I had become from my faith, from taking care of myself, and that disconnection slowly eroded my confidence. My faith was a huge part of my business in the beginning. It drifted in the middle during the growth season, not because I didn't believe, but because it just wasn't my priority. Growth tempted me to rely on myself. I forced things in my own power instead of going to God. Now, faith is being intentionally woven back into every fiber of my business. And that shift has changed everything. One thing no one really talks about is how growth doesn't just expand your business, it exposes the parts of you that haven't been healed yet. Growth amplifies everything. If you have people-pleasing tendencies, growth will bring that to the surface. If you struggle with control, growth will test that. If you tie your worth to performance, growth will make that painfully obvious. And that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means leadership has a way of bringing your inner world to the surface. There were seasons where my business was thriving, but internally I was anxious, disconnected, and running on empty. For a long time, I thought the answer was to work harder, fix more, do more, but what I really needed was to slow down and do the inner work, to let God reshape not just how I led, but who I was becoming. Because your business will only grow as healthy as you do. If I could sit across from you right now, this is what I'd want you to hear. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. I've learned the hard way that nothing good comes from force. I forced timelines, I've forced hires, I forced decisions, and almost every time it backfires. Growth, it requires patience. It requires trusting the process instead of rushing through it. And it absolutely requires not comparing where you are to someone who's been doing this twice as long as you have. There were so many seasons where I felt like I was supposed to already know what I was doing. Like not knowing somehow meant I wasn't qualified. What I've learned is that not knowing isn't a weakness. It's part of becoming. There is so much freedom in being able to say, I don't know yet, but I'm willing to learn. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can ask questions, you can find mentors, you can hire support, you can grow as you go. And if you find yourself comparing on social media, take inspiration, but don't lose yourself in the process. That's why knowing your purpose and your core values matter so much, because they become your North Star. When opportunities come your way, you can pause and ask, is this aligned with my values? Is this moving me closer to my purpose or further away from it? That pause alone can save you from a lot of unnecessary pressure. Growth is uncomfortable. There's no way around that. Growing pains are real, and you're never going to feel fully ready. But that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're growing. If your business feels ahead of you right now, I hope this episode reminds you that you're not alone and you're not failing. You're becoming. And becoming takes time. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to have it all figured out. Just keep showing up with grace for yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Your time is valuable, and I'm honored you spent it here. I hope something in this conversation met you right where you are. If it stirred something in your spirit or spoke to your heart, I'd truly love to hear about it. My DMs are always open. I love connecting with you. And as you go, just remember, you're not walking through this life alone. Until next time, stay grounded, keep showing up, and keep leaning into the purpose that's been placed on your heart. I'll be right here, cheering you on with my whole heart.